Own the Road with Kelli and Bob is brought to you by Mueller Metal Roofs and Buildings. Made in America, made to last.
Hi, we're Kelli
and Bob Phillips, and we're on the perpetual road trip of America's back roads,
where the journey is always the destination.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for this episode of On the Road with Kelli and Bob. I'm Bob Phillips.
And I'm Kelli Phillips. This is the second installment of a 5-week period of special editions of this program. We decided to put several pieces together in each edition from now through the end of the year, programs that all contain pieces that are somehow related.
Now, last week we told you stories about people who are each involved in some kind of charitable cause, people who like to give.
This week, we're going to take a look at artists. Now, keep in mind that art comes in many forms.
Yes, it does. And we'll start with a little shop on the Jersey Shore. The longer I live, the more people I meet, the more I realize how different we all are. And it's true what they say about that right brain, left brain thing. Artists and scientists really do see the world differently from, different perspectives.
But what happens when the art itself is based in science? Mm-hmm. How does that work? Well, maybe that takes a special kind of person indeed.
I was born in Fremont, California, but I was only there for like 2 weeks, and then we flew to New Jersey. We stayed at Grandma's house in Ocean Grove. Then my father got transferred to upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region in a town called Seneca Falls, New York. That's the birthplace of women's rights. Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. So that's where I grew up. So it's like a farm town, really rural, out in the country kind of a place. That was a great childhood.
Paul Elysees is one of the founders of Hot Sand in Asbury Park, New Jersey, a specialized glass-blowing studio. For Paul, there was never any question that art was what he would do with the rest of his life.
Did you always know that you wanted to be in glass?
Not so much glass, but art, absolutely. I got really good grades in that class. Through grade school and high school, I wanted to study to be a ceramicist, and I eventually didn't get into the schools that I wanted to, so I got my foundation in the fundamentals of art up in Boston for 2 years, and then when I went to Jacksonville University, they had a pretty good ceramic department there, but they also had a glass program. So once I got into the glass, I kind of threw the mud back in the lake and said, this is what I want to do. I want to do glass than anything else, and that's kind of where I took off.
What was it about glass?
The malleability of it, the things that you can make with it, the beauty of it. We're only limited to our imagination and the size of our equipment to make glass. It's used everywhere and everything. It's just a great material, great medium.
I went to school for scientific glass technology in Salem, New Jersey, which is by Delaware. I worked part-time here, worked full-time as a scientific glass technician, so a little boring.
Here at Hot Sands on the Jersey Shore, they know and understand the scientific and technical parts of glassmaking.
So I'm just going to use a little water, and I'll just set it in there, all the way in the back, and just a little tap. So water creates thermal shock, and a tap sends vibration to shock it. Whew.
My name is Ariel. I am the head glass blower here at Hot Sand. I went to art school. Again, I got good grades in art. And then I went to school in New Hampshire, at Henniker, New Hampshire. It's called New England College. But I did art there, and I played ice hockey. And when I came home, my brother, as I'm about to graduate, is like, let's blow glass. So he built a little shed in his backyard. We got a torch. We watched YouTube videos, and we learned how to set up a home studio through YouTube.
Now, if this was a law firm or an accounting firm, you could say Ariel Mazzola started out as, the receptionist, while she showed up at Hot Sands with an art degree. she was mostly self-taught in the art of glass blowing.
And in keeping with that law firm analogy, today Ariel would be what you would call the managing partner.
I was a front end person where I would check people out and sign people up for the little classes that we do here. And I wanted to do more. I found an excuse to go back there playing with the glass.
What is it that got inside of you and said, I gotta do this?
Everything about glass. We call it the glass bug. And just like a bug, you're attracted to the light and how it flows and everything. And then the endless opportunities to make different ideas. It's a puzzle. So it's even more elaborate than just like art making, because you have to think about the process behind it before you can execute it.
Tell us what you know about the history of glass on our planet.
It goes back to like the Egyptians. They did core forms, so that what that was, they were like winding glass around a rod, and it'd be hollow. And then they would wear like a little amphora or pendant with like oils in it. And also it was a part of like high society, high culture as well. So there was no one else really doing it in the world, and they only had it.
Paul tells us glass blowing is one of the most ancient forms of artistic expression.
And that's the beginning of glass making.
Has it changed a lot?
Not so much. Not so much. I mean, some of the tools that we use and maybe are set up a little bit from that time, but pretty much it's been the same since then. The Italians really changed it into more of like a team event, to where they have multiple people working on one piece. Here at Hot Sand, we're trying to bring the joy into the art, right? So when people come in here, they're very excited to do an activity, so they don't know what to expect. This is a very foreign environment. They pick and they choose their colors, and they come back with us, and we help them make the process.
So people can actually do the glass blowing themselves, but you had mentioned that this is kind of like a team effort.
Yes, we designed it so it would be very easy for the common person to be able to come in and do an activity with us. They're not coming here to learn glass and become a glass blower. They just want to try and see what it's all about, to see the heat and the light and the movement, the viscosity of the glass. They want to be part of that. So in our activities, we're twisting colors, so they're grabbing it and twisting it up, and they're putting air into it. So it's all that experience that they really, really enjoy.
We found a place on the Jersey Shore where you can do more than enjoy or buy the art. You get to be a part of making it.
And while glass blowing is one of the most difficult forms of artistic expression, and the study of the art can consume, well, a lifetime, it's those few minutes of staring into the 2,000+ degree flames and watching the molten glass turn into something beautiful that sticks with those who come here.
And they leave with more than a piece of art they helped create. They leave with a little piece of the artist.
We give a little piece of us every time because we want you to have a good experience with the glass, and we want you to see it in our perspective of how much we love this material.
Do you have people that come in here and they walk away with the wide-eyed wonderment that you first had? Do you see that
Big
at all?
wow moment.
Every day, and I think that's what helps me get through the day. I know I'm making memories for people, and then it helps me refresh my desires of my glass through other people as well. Not only that, I get to teach up-and-coming artists how to blow glass, and their energy helps me keep going, keep the glass going, because glass can be very devastating, but when you have that environment of motivation, it really helps a lot.
Thanks for staying with us for this special edition of On the Road with Kelli and Bob. I'm Bob Phillips.
And I'm Kelly Phillips. Bob mentioned this is a special edition of this program because we decided to group some stories together that have something in common, something that, in spite of their differences, make them all alike in some way.
In keeping with this week's theme, which is art, This next story will introduce you to a man who paints with words. He can meet you and in a few seconds have a pretty good idea about you, and then write a poem about your life.
I grew up in northeast Indiana in a small town that had 2,500 people in it maybe, one stoplight. There wasn't a whole lot going on there. A great public Carnegie library, so we spent a lot of time there. We didn't have much money, so we spent a lot of time at the library. Learned to read. I actually taught myself to read in kindergarten. And by the time I was in first grade, I was reading at 6th grade level. They ran out of books. It didn't make me very popular, but so I learned to find solace in literature and art at a very early age. I actually was going to be an artist.
From an early age, Scott Sprunger knew he loved two things: art and storytelling. He's been an avid reader his whole life, and he loved to draw and paint. He and his high school sweetheart got married early, had kids, and have been together for more than 30 years.
So Scott found himself, like most people, working to live. Well, he liked his job and it fed his family, but didn't do much to feed his soul. For that, he turned to creating emotions using his first love, words.
So I went and took a poetry class and found that I could paint pictures as quickly and better with words than I could a brush.
After discovering the joy poetry brings to his life, Scott Sprunger set out to do the same for others.
Well, not necessarily joy, but for sure, emotion. And he would do it by employing a not-so-state-of-the-art instrument, the typewriter.
The great thing about a typewriter is I can take it with me. I always have one in my car. My wife says I'm such a nerd.
How many typewriters do you have?
Over 50 at the last count, and I quit counting. I got my first typewriter 7 years ago. I traded a 6-pack of Guinness beer for it. And
It had to be Guinness.
yeah, because I wouldn't drink it then. Somebody left it at my house. I traded to a guy who knew would drink it, and he had a typewriter.
What is it about a typewriter that you're attracted to?
Well, there's several things. Number one, what got me started with the trading the beer for the typewriter was the fact that I read an article and they talked about how writers were migrating from computers back to manual typewriters. This has one purpose, and that's for a piece of paper to be in there and to put words on it and capture your thoughts. I'm not hearing anything else. I'm hearing that dance of that keys and the rhythm. It's almost like a song.
Today, Scott takes his favorite typewriter of the day to festivals, parks, just about any place where he can be around a crowd of people and offer his poetry writing services.
He doesn't charge a fee and only works for tips because, to Scott, well, it's more about making a connection with another human being than it is about making a living.
We don't try to make anything too pretty. We don't try to use big words because I don't talk that way, so why would I write that way?
Right.
Most people look very cautiously at poets and poetry because poets try to confuse people. And why? You know, everybody's got a song in them. Everybody's got a story. This poetry's meant just to make that connection and pull it out. That's it. They asked me why I do it. I said, that's exactly why I do it. I want you to have that connection, even if it's only for 3 minutes, something you can hang on your fridge that you can pull off 6 months from now, takes you back to either a happy or even a sad time, something you wish to connect to just by reading a few of my words.
Okay, you're sitting at the farmer's market or wherever you happen to be. Mm-hmm. Somebody walks up to you, and what do they typically say if they want a poem?
Well, I get a variety of people first that say, what are you doing here? Free poetry. And I say, yeah, would you like a poem? Okay, I guess. Then they just stand there. I said, well, what would you like a poem about? Gosh, I don't know. What do you normally write about? And I said, dogs, cats, giraffes, Pokemon. I'll tell them, they'll say, do I need to tell you a story? I said, you can tell me whatever you'd like. You can tell me as little or as much as you like. I'll listen. And I think that's the part that sells. people want to be heard. They know if they're standing on the other side of this keyboard, they have somebody's undivided attention at least for 5 minutes.
You may think that people attending a crowded festival or other similar event don't open up about their lives to an anonymous poet who's sitting there writing poems for tips. But think again. Scott has heard it all, from joy to heartbreak.
Some folks are just trying to get over some emotional events in their lives, while others want him to help them celebrate something important to them. Like the guy who simply told Scott he and his wife had been a couple for 30 years.
This was written October 8th. 3 decades. Long ago, there was me, there was you, and life was just living. Then you and I became us. We became one. If you are the sun, I am the shadow. If I am day, you are my night. When I laugh, I hear your echo ringing in my ears. When I breathe in, it's you that feeds my soul. Life was once just living, but for 30 years, we have truly lived.
And the man who was celebrating a different kind of milestone, 12 years of sobriety.
And he walks up and he says, I have been sober for 12 years. So I said, all right. So this one's called The Clouds Are Gone. Dark days left me a dozen years ago. I had enough of not knowing whether I was really alive or if it was some sort of a nightmare. I lay there crying out to the night, praying for a reason, a sign that there was life. I heard the call. I felt the warm hand of grace, and now I rise. See the clouds part, and I feel the sun for the first time in what seems forever.
The subjects for the poems are all different, some lighthearted, some tragic.
But for Scott Sprunger, what his poems are about isn't necessarily what his poems are about.
What do you think a poet wants to see?
A smile?
That's nice, but no.
A reaction of
We want to see tears.
Well, sure.
If we see tears, we know we did a good job, because that means we hit straight to the heart. But when somebody starts to say something and they catch themselves, and you see tears welling up, you know that you hit the mark. You hit it on the head. I mean, it doesn't get better than that, right? I mean, It really doesn't.
Now, we are off to Arkansas next, to the quaint little town of Eureka Springs, a town that is pretty much built into the side of a mountain.
Well, since you mentioned that, we will tell you that Eureka Springs, Arkansas is one of our personal favorite weekend getaways.
Yes, it is.
The town is just so full of life, but in a down-home, old-fashioned kind of way. It is well worth the trip.
Yep, and when you visit, be sure and go by a little store there on the main street called Heart Division.
Hey guys, welcome in. Welcome to the Heart Division.
Show us around.
One of my favorite things of the shop is our anchors is going to be the candles, which one of my favorite things about candles is we can all agree scent is an anchor. You can literally smell something and remind you of where you were in 3rd grade. It's one of the rare things that actually can bring you back that you carry. And so the idea of bringing candles into the shop was something that, and they're handmade, we come up with the fragrances so they're unique to the shop. So I like to think of them as little anchors, little bits of joy, if you will. So it's kind of a universal thing that anybody can come in and enjoy.
Christopher Box is the owner of the Heart Division, a wonderful mix of original art and a nice collection of original merchandise that will make you smile, laugh, or just shake your head.
Chris came here from his longtime home in Dallas, but he was originally from this area, and even though many of his memories from his childhood here were not, something he wants to remember, he made peace with the past and moved here full-time to open this little shop.
I grew up in this area and had a very tumultuous childhood. When I was young, I grew up in foster care. We moved around a lot, and You know, I always say this because it gets relevant to what I do here. That was the first time my heart got broken. I really missed my mom. And it took me a long time to kind of get to a place to fully be able to understand the ramifications of what that actually means. And so growing up was a consistent flow of living in different homes and experiencing different lives, experiencing how other people live. And so it was tumultuous, but it was also, in the end, it was a gift. Because the truth is, for me, being able to understand the way people work by being able to go back to my childhood of the experiences that I had. I say one of my favorite things is kind of being a bridge between this and that. When I was growing up, being able to see the different living environments and lifestyles, religions and ideology, and it really kind of helped completely change and shift and pivot the way I see the world.
And that way, Chris sees the world. The things that happened during his younger years in foster care and his adult years of just living life have shaped his career choice.
Art has always been a part of who I am. Even growing up, my favorite class was art class. I've always been a maker and a creator. It's funny because it's the holdup that we get told early on is that you can't make a living being an artist.
You're going to starve.
You have no idea how many times we've heard that.
Truly. And I think that is an old ideology. I think that we're moving into a time where, you know, you can be what you want to be.
What else have you got?
I'm actually the artist of the shop. I do have a few other people in the shop, but for the most part, it's just me. What we're looking at right now is the Follow Your Heart series. The Follow Your Heart series is going to be about kind of finding yourself, loving yourself, and just being the most authentic version of yourself. A lot of times people will look at the art and there is some darkness in it and there is some sadness in it, but the truth is it's also a call to, no matter how bad things are, there's always hope.
And that's what this and this
Yes.
and this represents?
Absolutely. The little red heart's a variety of different meanings. It also helps anchor you into the painting. Immediately you're the red heart experiencing whatever's happening. And then the other part, the heart, recently scientific discoveries, there are a lot of similarities with the brain and with the heart. And there's this new studies that are showing that the heart is actually intelligent and it's not just a blood pump. And so what I love about the heart is it's a universal symbol of love and acceptance.
That universal symbol of love and acceptance is the main thing that brought us to this little shop. And well, that takes a little bit of explanation. See, many years ago, while living in southeast Texas, a good friend gave Kelly and me, collectively, the name Kelli Bob. You know, kind of like calling Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie Brangelina, except they're famous and, well, we're just Kelly and Bob, or Kelli Bob.
Well, a local artist there named Daryl Tropey latched onto that moniker and then created some artwork around it. And every painting was of a heart, and he dedicated those works to us. So when we heard about Christopher Box and his Heart Division store and heart-centered art, we had to see it.
I love that we're meeting and talking about the significance of the heart. It organically came into my art in 2007, and it took me about 10 years before I stepped back and looked at my art, and I was like, oh wow, I'm painting a lot of these hearts. In 2019, I went through a divorce, and it broke my heart. It was a huge reset. So I had a lot of time to sit with it, and it brought me back to being a kid. It brought me back to being left by my mother, and it broke my heart. And so it was an invite to go in. It was an invite to really process that trauma. When I fully aligned with being someone who likes to paint hearts is when I started painting this over here, the Follow Your Heart series. So I brought this one out last spring. This feeling of when you were in high school and you didn't think you fit in, thought that was actually a bad thing, and then you get into your 20s or 30s and you still don't fit in, and then next thing you know you're 48 and you realize that not fitting in really has helped me be able to see the world from a different way.
You're saying that I'm not the only one who felt that?
Yes.
Oh, really?
You're in good company here. These are they're weird, but it's like that feeling of being unique, being yourself, being who you are, and not being afraid to be something that's not like everyone else. It's a call, and I think that people that really get it, because I think that at the core, we all have had that feeling.
we got around to asking Christopher Box the same question we ask most of the folks we meet. Have you found your happy, that place that makes your life complete?
I have, and I say it's finding that rhythm. I don't think you know until you do. I don't think you can, wisdom's not free, and until you experience it, you don't know. I like the word satisfaction, being satisfied. The first thing I think is being able to accept yourself as you are, all of it. It doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter if you're skinny, it doesn't matter if you're big, it doesn't matter if you're bald, because the truth is, we're one race, we're the human race, and the quicker you can get to a place that you are an original, you're a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event.
Each of the pieces on this week's program has to do with art, and of course, well, artist. Now, this next guide took us to one of the most scenic places we have visited in a while, to a great artist studio in Vermont.
That's where David Lasser makes his pots and other ceramic pieces. And he does it the old-fashioned way.
We're on Route 100 and it's gorgeous. I mean, you drive around here in, rural Vermont on these highways and it is beautiful. We're known as the Green Mountains and we really are green. If you've never seen fall foliage in New England, specifically in this area of Vermont, you're missing out. The colors are just astounding. And it shows up and it might only last for 10 days. But the whole way you're headed towards it and you're seeing the leaves change slowly, 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 and then people will be walking around, just regular local people going, did you see? Boom. It just showed up. And it's like overnight, all of a sudden, you're in a painting and everything is wild for about 10 days usually. And we're incredibly busy. Incredibly busy. I mean, that's when everybody wants to come to Vermont.
We are in the tiny community of Londonderry, Vermont, just east of Manchester and the Green Mountain National Forest. We have come here in search of a person who loves his job.
Anyone will do, but it has to be someone who has done the same thing over and over, well, for a lifetime, but who still gets up excited to do it each and every day. A butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker, anyone whose passion hasn't diminished over the years. Well, what we found was a potter.
I grew up in New Jersey, but I moved to Vermont 40 years ago. Yeah. And I started making pots when I was 11 years old. So
11?
11. So there I was. As a kid, I wanted to be a baseball player, I wanted to be a fireman, and then I wanted to be a potter. And the potter stuck.
Did you ever get a chance to be a baseball player or a fireman?
Well, there was a fire station. I used to like the fire station, and I tried Little League.
But the pottery stuck.
Oh, the pottery was great.
What was it?
You couldn't drag me away from it. I sat down. It was art class in 7th grade, and I made this tiny little pot, and I brought it home, and that was it. I mean, literally, as a kid, I just remember there was clay on me.
Do you remember what it was about throwing pots that got into your system and stuck?
I think, well, it was definitely a chore to actually get something to stand up so it didn't fall down on you. So there was a little bit of a learning curve that I loved because it was challenging. I just really liked it. I just was drawn to it and didn't want to stop.
When Daniel was a little boy in the 1970s, potters were somewhat revered. It was one of those crafts that appealed to the hippie society of the day, right along with making macrame and basket weaving.
It was a cool thing for a cool dude or dudette to do. The truth is, almost any kid who told his parents he planned to be a potter would hear this question: what's your backup plan? Not Daniel.
My dad helped me make a pottery studio in the basement. I did my first craft show when I was 13 years old. There I was, with my velour shirt on in the late 70s. My dad made me a little booth, and I'm doing a craft show. And I'm like, wow.
Wait, most kids that age are doing lemonade stands.
Right.
And he's
I'm
doing a
selling
craft
pots
show.
in the 70s, with the little macrame and little planters. And my dad was so sweet. He was just like, we're doing a craft show. He built me my first potter's wheel that we still use today. And he bought me an electric kiln when I was 13. So I was I was engaged. I loved doing it. I didn't even have a chair for that potter's wheel. There was a small little tree stump that I found on the side of the road, and I sat on a tree stump and I made pots on a handmade potter's wheel. And it was the coolest thing. You just could not stop me from making pots.
And no one wants to stop Daniel Lasser from making pots. He is one of the most prolific potters in America, and his creations are sought after, especially as place settings and server pieces that are featured in everything from starter homes to old world mansions.
His studio and shop here in Vermont is open to the public, and his staff, which is really more like his family of close friends, is as excited about making pottery as he is.
Well, usually they're creative people. There's Chelsea, there's Darren, there's Liz, there's Deborah, there's Ches. We each do different parts of the process, but everyone is an artist in their own right, and they just love what they're doing, and that's why they're here.
How do you know if you're going to hire somebody to work with you? That's got to be difficult to figure out. This person will fit in, this person won't, with your style.
Right, you don't know, right? It's building a relationship. And so everyone here has been here for quite some time. You know, when you're going on 10 years, you learn a lot about somebody. And it's like family where you just sort of, you enjoy what's great and what's not, you just try to work around. We love coming to work, we love making pots, we joke, we laugh, we have a good time, and folks like yourselves come through, and it makes it all worthwhile.
Talk to us about the science of this whole thing.
You know, you're looking at a couple thousand years of manufacturing, of technology that shows up, chemistry, right? You could spend your whole life working on the glazes. So our glazes are what we're known for in all the different colors. So did I leave some of the shapes behind when I left art school? Absolutely, and started doing dinnerware and mugs and the whole thing. You really could spend a lifetime working with colors and designs.
That's one of the things you're known for, we understand, is your glazes.
Yeah.
What's so different about it?
Well, we don't just do one color, two color, three color, dip and dip. That's it, right? Each piece is a piece of artwork. It's artistry. The glazing that goes on here is layer after layer. Technically speaking, the process is very difficult. If we've got 30 different colorations and 30 different designs, that's amazing for a small studio like ours. You're looking at a combination of over 2,000 different pieces that we make that you can mix and match. So 30 designs with all the different colors and the bowls and the mugs and the plates. Everybody loves to mix and match.
We went in search of a passionate person, one who loves whatever he or she has been doing for a lifetime so much that they would do it all over again. A butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker.
What we found was the potter, Daniel Lasser, a man who decided when he was 11 years old what he wanted to do with his life. And he's been doing just that for more than 50 years. He couldn't be any happier about that.
So I've made probably more than 1.2 million pieces of pottery, if not 1.5. The dinnerware sets. The best thing is to mix and match.
Have you ever thought about the fact that people are sitting down at their tables routinely, maybe daily, and at some point their brain goes back to you because you created this for them?
Oh, over and over again. I get note cards and letters from people who are like, I want you to know this is our favorite mug. We wake up every morning and we think about your place and we think about the mugs. And sometimes all the way on down to college students, because we have multi-generations of families who have come through here. And college students will send me a note saying, I'm at my dorm, and I've got this mug of yours. Coming to work every day will definitely feed your soul, especially if you like it. Yeah, this is ingrained in me. This is what I know. This is what I enjoy.
That's it for this special edition of On the Road with Kelli and Bob.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's theme show about art and artist. And thanks for listening to this week's edition of Own the Road with Kelli and Bob. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. A big thank you to our sponsor, Mueller Metal Roofs and Buildings, as well as Odyssey, for allowing us this platform to tell our stories across America. You can always listen to Own the Road with Kelli and Bob wherever you get your podcast, but the best thing to do, download that free Odyssey app. Listen anytime, anywhere.